Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRoushMedia.com, photo, video, digital media production. Today we are discussing the 2019 Spanish film originally called El Hoyo, translated into The Hole. It is called, in the U.S., The Platform, directed by Galder Gottstilazertrua. And I probably said that wrong, and so I'm just gonna say that's all I'm gonna try. That's all I can do at this point. I'm sorry I don't speak the native language, and I do not have the pronunciation in front of me. However, the direction of Mr. Galder in this film is quite fascinating. I'll be honest. The platform was something I wasn't initially interested in looking at and checking out, mostly because of the premise and how dark and dreary and, just the time that we're living in. I was kind of looking for something a little bit more, lighthearted or not quite as focused on human-to-human violence in that sort of manner. But with watching it, I did come to an appreciation for it. I thought the direction and overall story is very interesting, especially at a time like this during the COVID times. Sometimes when you're listening to my movies reviews, you have no idea what time or what's going on in the world at this point. I'm currently recording this on April 10th, so give or take what happens in the news, we might refer to things that are going on that might be outdated at the time it's released, because the news is coming in, flooding left and right, tons daily. So The Platform was a movie that I had recommended to me from a buddy of mine. His name's Dom. He was telling me, he's like, "Yo, dude, you gotta check out The Platform. It's got this really interesting plot. It's kind of like the same sort of style of class divide that Snowpiercer was trying to tackle, with the poor people being at the back of the train, and Snowpiercer with this movie, instead of a train, having poor people at the back, we're having a tower and the poor people are at the bottom. And so the whole idea about the movie The Platform is having the film is set in a large tower style, quote unquote, vertical self-management center, where the residents, who are periodically switched at random between floors, are fed by a platform that falls through the center of the cell, and the cell is shared between two people. Initially it's filled with food when it's at the very top. That in the platform gradually descends through each cell, through a hole that is in each cell, and it goes through each level. It is a system bound to cause conflict, as inmates at the top levels can eat as much food as they can, leaving increasingly little for those below. So it is very much a take on, the rich taking the most and leaving, very little for the poor, which the poor in this movie are people at the bottom levels. And so this movie premiered at TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, in 2019, and got tons of praise. And I can definitely see why it raised eyebrows for people at that specific showing. I think that this is a movie that really is perfect for Netflix. I don't think it's it doesn't appear to be that high budget of a movie, so it probably didn't cost too much. It's only a 94-minute movie. It's also in Spanish. However, they do have subtitles and dubs if you needed those. It doesn't bother me to read subtitles, especially with the success of Parasite. I'm just geared for more non-English based movies. And so this movie has excellent prose to it. And when I say that, I think the music is quite inquisitive. It's always set in a way that feels like it's unwrapping itself. It's like, makes you wonder. It's kind of got that interesting feel to it. And so the cinematography alongside it, you are basically taking place in one of three locations through this entire movie. The majority of the time is on or sorry, within the walls of this cell. So you can definitely tell that it was shot on a budget, but it still looks really gorgeous of a film. Like the cinematography, the camera angles, the way they're shooting people, um, always feels like something new is being shown on the screen. So I never felt like I was bored. I will say the direction towards the last half of the movie, sorry, the last third of the movie, let's just say, does kind of jump the shark in a way and then jump into a more philosophical view of the movie that I felt wasn't as, I don't know, it didn't feel as natural as the majority and grounded as the majority of the first half had been, even though the first half was kind of ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. The second half starts to go more philosophical in ways that I didn't think that served the first half in my personal opinion. And when I say that, I think that's mostly for the spoiler section. It's mostly the very little bit last maybe 20 minutes of the movie that I wasn't crazy about. And honestly, the more I thought about it, if they had more of a technology spin to it, this could have been a season finale for like a Black Mirror episode or something like that. I wanted something a little bit more technical about it, maybe sci-fi, and then we could have just made this a black. I was gonna say a Black Friday, a Black Mirror episode, a Black Friday episode. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. The damn quarantine. I don't even know what day it feels like. Every day feels the same during this quarantine. So I'm just like, I don't even know what's going on outside. It's like wear the same thing every day, kind of bumming it, but yet still got to go look presentable for certain things. I'm in a creative field, so it's technically not exactly essential business. So that's why I'm kind of bumming it. But yeah, so what else do we have for this? The editing I thought was beautiful. The production, the music, inquisitive, cinematography, all fantastic. I'm going to butcher all of the actors' names in this, so I'm not really going to go too in depth with them. But the main two characters, there's essentially like 3 to 4 main characters. Let me see if I can get this up real quick, and I'll see if I can pronounce. Ivan Mascow plays Gorig, and he's the main character that we're following along with. We kind of are like waking up in the cell with him and trying to understand what's going on between him and his cellmate, Tramagasi, played by Zoran Aguilor. I'm sorry. I'm not even gonna try. These are difficult names for me to pronounce. So, yeah, Goreg and Tremagasi have a lot of great chemistry when the movie is initially starting out, and so you find out the majority of what's going on through this movie from their rapport. And I think the writing between it is pretty good, without going into too many spoilers or anything like that. So overall, let me talk about the cons real quick before we hop into spoilers. The cons, it's gory as fuck. This is like Walking Dead levels of violence, and I'm not always the kind of guy that likes to watch human on human torture violence, just torture porn violence. It's really not my forte. It's when I say that, like a Saw or something like that, something that is just pretty much obscene and almost just like it might as well just be considered a snuff film for the few select scenes that some of these movies decide to have. And I'm just not, when I'm watching cinema, when I'm watching movies, I'm not really looking for, extreme torture and stuff like that. So kind of going into this, I was not thrilled about, having to witness that or anything like that, because I had heard a little bit about it. So there is some extreme violence. There's a little bit of animal violence a little bit in there. Um, I'll just bring that out of the top, but I don't think any of the violence is anything you haven't seen before. Like all of the violence we've seen in this movie is still very much in the realm of things we have seen in other movies. I didn't think anything was too crazy, but a lot of it was the illusion or the implied essence of these two people saying I want to hurt you kind of thing. Um, but it does get very violent and implied gruesome, and so that was one thing that makes it a little bit more difficult to recommend this for. Let me see what else we got. Um, I realized after a while that the movie has a sort of it's a hand in hand problem. It's a pacing, but it's also it feels like it's cheap after a while because we start to just see the same location, the same thing, and it was just me personally that realized I was like, I feel like we're just kind of, running around in circles, and we only have so much of a budget to show them within this vertical tower. Like we don't get to see the outside of the tower. I guess I'm starting to go in a little bit into spoilers. But before we hop into it, I did feel like the 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 cost of the film of them keeping it the majority in pretty much three locations starts to affect the pacing in a way that I'm like, all right, let's get this going. Um, there is some comedic shifts within this movie that felt sometimes odd. These it, without going into too many spoilers again. The comedic shifts in this it worked between some of the rapport between the characters, but uh, there's other roommates that are introduced through the movie, and I don't think that the rapport works nearly as well, or they introduce it in advance. They don't. I don't feel like they really do it in advance. Um, they don't give enough time to have rapport between some of the other roommates. But yeah, so let's hop into spoilers of the platform. Um, let's see. So let me see. So I was wondering, why is this guy risking going to prison? Sorry, it's not prison. It's sort of a prison. This self management center or whatever the fuck for a diploma. I thought that was just a bizarre thing on itself. Like, I think the motivations for the characters felt slightly muddled. I didn't understand why this guy would go into this situation kind of blind and not have a way to get out of it. I felt like maybe I needed just a little bit more. Obviously, he's supposed to be the good-hearted natured guy that is supposed to run into the hard-natured guy, which is Tramagasi, and once he does that, we see the deterioration of Goreg turning into basically Tramagasi, and along that, Tramagasi is haunting Goreg, and there's the scenes of Tramagasi almost killing Goreg, preserving him, saying he's going to preserve him like a snail and eat parts of his body to save him up, and hopefully they live till they get on a different level. By the way, if you're still listening and you didn't watch it, they're on each level for a month, and at the end of the month they're gassed and they wake up on a different level. They could be on level 1, they could be on level 200, and that's how they determine how you eat, by what level you're on. And so obviously Goreg is the guy on the journey trying to figure out how to live in this new vertical self-management center. And so I felt like the fact that he's basically almost putting himself in life-threatening situations didn't make sense. who is overwatching this. I felt like there needed to be some sort of overwatcher or some sort of corp or some, not quite a big bad. There are big bads, and it's big. It's the rich folks essentially. But I'm not sure if this movie justifies the ending with, the explanation of, all right, all we got to do is, send the child to the top. Everything's, all good. I don't feel like the ending of this movie resolves in a way that says everything's going to be all good. I really don't. So let me go to the notes I have real quick. So I thought it was crazy that he was doing this all for a diploma. That seemed like that was completely muddled by the end of this. It seems like they're being watched by somebody. I wanted to see how they are being watched. If they saved food, they had the heat or the cooling system turn on. Either they're going to get fried or they were going to get what's it called? They were sorry, my camera seemed out of focus for a second. So anyways, they were either going to get too hot or they were going to get too cold, and one of them was going to be extreme temperatures and kill them in some sort of way. So I was a little bit confused about why more people weren't riding that platform down all the way, just eating all the food. I didn't really get what the deal was. It didn't seem like there were any repercussions for going from one floor to another and then killing your neighbor down there and then eating the food that they were going to have. That was one of the plot holes, I thought, among, a handful that this movie had. I'll probably, point out a few more. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong and they covered it in the movie, you can email or comment or in the section below. Yeah. But let me see what else. How are they being watched? I didn't see any cameras or anything like that, but it seemed like every single floor was being watched in some way. I realized that obviously was they used that word like about 50 million times. It was like the word jellicle cats for what's it called? Cats. This, jellicle was the word in Cats. Obviously was the word in the platform. The platform flying up and down the actual shaft of the hole that was going through was like going fast as shit. It didn't really explain how that was happening. I didn't need it to explain how it was happening. I was just like, that's a really cool effect, and I guess it keeps people from going up and down. Even though there was the one lady character, Myru, and she's trying to descend to the bottom of the pits to find her child. Wow. But she might be an actress, and there might not actually be a child, and there's not supposed to be any children there under 16. But yet, if you've seen the end of this movie, you already know there is. And the purpose of the movie is to feed the children, to feed the child, to take the children to the top where the 1% are. They should be the 1%. I guess might be dumb, or I might just need to watch a few more podcasts on it, but I didn't feel like this translates to what would overall end up making more sense at the end. I don't know if, save the child, feed the child is what the ultimate answer is in this. I don't know. The fact that there would be any children or anybody under the age of like 20 in this sounds insane. But once you're past a certain level, it's just fucking fuckery down there. It's insane. Let's see what else we got. There's people that actually do fall the way down. I think some people fall and some people commit suicide. There's a lot of just like random deaths in this. What else we got? So you wake up on random ass floors, which I thought was interesting switch up from what Snowpiercer does. It's not like in Snowpiercer, the movie Snowpiercer, if you didn't see it, poorer at the back, richer at the front. You didn't get to switch train cars like that. You had to push your way to the top or push your way to the bottom, similar to this movie. So at first, it looks like Myru is about to get like taken by guys to do God knows what. I mean, literally, we find out, I think 20, 30, maybe 20 minutes into the movie, or the main character, Goreg's like, well, I don't know how you ate on level 150 or 200s and all of your roommates are missing, so you must have eaten him. I was like, wait, you must have eaten him. That's that seems like a pretty big leap in logic. But the fact that you would say that to your roommate sounds insane, and then proceed to sleep next to that guy across the room. I mean, the guy is going. If you think the guy is going to eat you, you never fall asleep again. It's like. And he has a knife on top of that. Like, fuck that. Like, everyone gets to bring one item. I don't think I said that in the spoiler-free section, but everyone gets to bring one item, and he brought a book. And you know what? I didn't look at the book. I bet the book is something to do with a class divide. I'm just gonna, spitball randomly, but that's probably what it was about. I probably should have wrote it down. Let me see. But the fact that Goreg would ever volunteer to do this shit just sounds insane, and the fact that he can't get out of the program just sounds insane too. It's like, why would you purposely ever put yourself in this position? It's got to be like the worst shit you've ever signed up for. Let's see. So there is some amazing direction when Goreg is about to get eaten by Tramagasi. Like, that Tramagasi guy was fucking intense to watch. Just him explaining everything, him saying, this is all you need to know, I've told you too much about myself, stop saying the word obviously. The dude's weird, obviously, but and intense, but the actor himself is pretty damn dynamic. I thought this guy was literally about to gobble this guy up like a damn escargot snail. I think there's actually B-roll of it or something at the top. They were showing escargot being made, I think, and might be a different dish, but it was definitely snail. And I was like, oh my god, I don't want to watch this guy get gobbled up. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and I was not looking forward to that. So I was really glad that he came. What's her name? Maya Haru came and whooped these guys' ass. She was a great character, even though she didn't have too much. And there was that, the fantasy with the red lights, the red filter, whatever, of them making love. But I guess I would have wanted a better reason for him to go into the platform, like. Make it so that he's trying to investigate for this lady, or trying to investigate for the child, or maybe just a slight rewrite could have led the reasoning of him going to this vertical platform place or whatever, this vertical tower. Make it make sense. Don't just make it so, oh, yep, I'm just volunteering, seeing what's going on around here. Like, what the fuck? Like, nobody would ever volunteer for this shit. That doesn't even make any remote sense to me, and it still tickles me. It would make more sense if he was like a detective or something like that, undercover, something that he wants to get inside this place, infiltrate it, and expose it for what it really is. And I never really got that. I felt like he was trying to expose it as a social a fucked up social construct or something like that. It's like, obviously it's a fucked up social construct. It's not like, I don't know. What was it? James Hancock on YouTube said something. This actually could be referred to in the same way as, how people are being affected with COVID-19 and getting groceries and getting toilet paper and essentials like that. Think of that platform having toilet paper coming down. There's absolutely no way the people at the bottom are getting enough of the resources, and so that does make sense. I think the actual the story and the way it's showing and not just telling is excellent. Now, the problem for me was, the execution toward the third act. So yeah, we do found out. I don't have the lady's name. Let me see if I can find it. Emigori, played by Antonia San Juan. She is the lady that basically signs up Goreg to go into the tower, and she claims to have no idea how bad the conditions are, and the place that he's like signing up in looks like a fucking dungeon. It looks like they're on the bottom floor as it is, and so it's like, oh my Lanta. How did you not know this place was that terrible? And so and Magori ends up in there as well. And let me see. One of the only items she brings, she's like the optimist, I guess, and she's very optimistic in a way, the same way Goreg was. The thing was, Emigori is trying to tell people above and below her what to do, and that's obviously not working. And so that character didn't really work for me in a way. I think she is a little bit of a racist in this movie as well. The character, not the actress. But let me see. Okay, so yeah, she is suffering from cancer, terminal cancer, and it seems, I don't feel like it's explained why she's even in there. I can't even. I'm looking at the plot right now, and I can't even find a good reason why she's. Okay, so let me see. The following month, Goreg awakes on level 33 with a woman and Megori as a cellmate. The only thing she brought with her was her dog. Goreg recognizes her as the administration official who interviewed him before sending him in the cell. She tells Goreg that she believes there are 200 floors. She says she was unaware of the horrible conditions and volunteered to fix things when she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Emigori rations her food and attempts to convince those on below to do it as well, but they ignore her until Goreg threatens to defecate in their food. Yeah, and so they have to threaten the people below them to act sane or to not do something crazy with the food, to not overindulge, otherwise they're gonna fuck up their food. So yeah, this character didn't really work for me in the right ways. I felt like her character was kind of mismatched. I understand what she's supposed to do, what she's supposed to be at the very end. It's mostly a temptation for the main character of Goreg. He's trying to resist not eating her because he's starving himself at the very bottom. I don't remember, he's like at 177 or something like that. But yeah, I was mixed feelings on that character, not so much the actress, but Alexandria Masquet plays Myru, and she's the young lady that is going to each level trying to look for her son or daughter. I don't remember which, her child. And she's just fucking everybody up. I think at one point she ends up eating or killing Mgori's dog. Like, why the fuck would you ever bring your dog in a place like that? I guess I wanted to know why the people were in there, why you would ever put yourself in a situation like that. And that's what mainly bothered me for this storyline. And yeah, I like Alexandria Mesquet. I felt like the only reasons we knew that some of these people were in there, like Tramagasi had thrown his television out and randomly killed somebody on accident. So the reasoning that these people were in there didn't exactly fit with how intense the violence got, I guess. Like, some of these people just felt like they were just there, or they were wrong place, wrong time, or taken in, or volunteered themselves. And so that's kind of where it's just, it's rubbing me wrong. I just can't really explain why this movie doesn't exactly land for me. It's like doing a really cool trick, and it's got really great visuals, but when it comes down to stick the landing, it's like they broke their ankle when they stuck the landing. So it's like, let me see. So yeah, I wrote my notes. Why would anyone ever sign up for this insane situation? At one point, I think Mayaru, the young lady that's whooping everybody's ass, when she kills Tramagasi, she feeds some of Tramagasi to him. So she's trying to get him to taste human flesh on one point. It's like, maybe you don't want to save this lady, which ends up actually happening. I mean, she gets fucked up a little bit later. And so at the very end, there's essentially, what do we got? We got Tramagasi, we got Mguru, and then we got Mayaru. Does he ever oh yeah, Mayaru. So Mayaru, let me see. Sorry, I don't think he ever is with Mayaru. He only sees her like show up on his levels. Okay, so Goreg wakes up. I think he only has Trimagasi, Mguru, the lady, and Barat as roommates, and then Mayaru just comes and goes as she pleases, because she basically owns the place. Bayarak is the handsome guy at the very end, which happens to be the only black man in the movie, and it's with reason. They are putting these certain races in there for I don't know, effects that they can say, you know, I think it's so that they can talk about different religions and talk about different class structures. But not only that, it's some of these people are being nasty and specifically racist, and I don't recall any misogyny, but yeah, I liked this guy. I liked Barat. He had some great enthusiasm as an actor, but my only problem was, and he wanted to get that panna cotta as a message to the top. Let me see. I thought Bayarat. Okay, so I tell you what they should have done, or what I would have done. Not what they should have done. This is what I would have done. I would have had Mguru as one of the big bads at the very end, or she would have been at the very top. She would have been an administrator. She would have been overlooking the people that were saving the food. She would have been in charge of security. She could be somebody that could have been taken down at the very end. Not that there needed to be, but sometimes I felt like there was just a face that we needed to have, and she was more or less a face that I needed that to work. And Bayarat, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, is, you know, his best guy that can help him get as far as possible. Obviously, he doesn't make it all the way, but I felt like the introduction of Barat is so late into the actual movie, I didn't care about the guy that much. I felt like the rapport was good, and they had some really cool action scenes, but once it came down to the actual execution of them having, you know, some rapport together and having spent a lot of time and understanding about what the fuck is going on in this situation, yeah, I really did not think that they clicked on that way, and they almost did. I think that they're very close to having some great rapport, but I still was preferential to Tramagasi and Goreg's rapport at the beginning of the movie, which makes me say that this movie overall started out a lot stronger than it ended. I think when it got to the heavy-handed metaphor of, the panna cotta is the message, and they run into some older guy that says you need to send the message, and I'm pretty sure this is done in other movies. It's kind of a trope of you've got to find there is an older man on some sort of mission, and they tell you what you got to do, and it's somewhat of a sacrifice, but it's ultimately for the greater good. But the panna cotta was the message that they wanted to send to the administrators on the top, and I think it's a gorgeous movie, and undoubtedly says, I don't want to say it's too heavy-handed of a message, even though it's just a really visually striking heavy-handed of a message, but it's not the message I had a problem with. I thought it was the execution of the story. But yeah, other than the small things, I didn't dislike this movie at all. I wasn't really bored during the slow pacing times, but I did have and it was the son. The child was a son. I wasn't sure if it was a. Oh wait, no, it was actually a girl. Sorry, it was Mayaru's daughter. Sorry, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. They assume it's a son, but actually it's a daughter. Not that matters. Anything else? Oh, the girl had actually been the message, not the panna cotta. Yeah, and we find Tramagasi telling him the message requires no bearer. So did he do all this just to deliver the child to the top? Is that what happened in this? I don't know. I don't know. You've heard my quibbles about it. It's nothing too serious. It's nothing I'm going to lose sleep over. It's actually a movie that I'm going to refer to when I'm thinking about interesting movies that take place all in roughly one location. I'd still consider this roughly one location. I think this is one of the better ones. It's done on a lower budget as well. I don't have the budget in front of me, but it's got to be low. There's no way that they spent a lot. They could have just green screened every time the platform's going to another level. But yeah, I enjoyed the platform. It was an interesting concept, a little genre film for us. If you are interested in additional podcasts, additional reviews, you know what to do. Check out LuckyDog Podcast on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, whatever the popular podcast app you like to use. We're probably on it. If we're not, then I'll find one that is, or we'll upload it or something. Comments, questions, concerns, the LuckyDog Podcast. Check out Instagram, check out the Facebook, the Discord, the YouTubes. I already said the YouTubes, but you already know. Hope everyone is doing excellent in this crazy pandemic. Let me see if there's anything else. Nope. But yeah. So, oh yeah, if Barat literally got shat on by those people asking about which God do you believe in. I was Dea, he literally got shat on. But yeah, sorry, I just found that in my notes that shit was actually making me laugh. But anyways, yes, thank you for listening to the Look It Up podcast. Let me know what you thought about the platform. If you saw the movie, let me know what you thought about it. I gave it about a 7 out of 10. It's a beautiful film with an interesting concept, and trips a little bit at the end, but it's ultimately still a recommendation for those at home trying to get their mind off something. If you want something a little crazier, obviously check out The Tiger King. I've talked about that on many podcasts. Check out, if you like sci-fi, you got the Westworld going on. We got Devs on Hulu. There is Money Heist that has just released season 4. Definitely checking that out. We've got all the reviews already lined up, stacked up. We've checked out Money Heist 1 through 3 reviews. Check that out down in the SoundCloud library if you want to get caught up real quick. Yep, we got it. So thank you for listening, watching, LuckyDog Podcast, whatever you're doing, supporting helps us. The LuckyDog Podcast is theluckydogpodcast@gmail.com is our email, and we could not do this podcast without you. So 5 stars us, subscribes us, give us all the comments us. You know what to do. Take it easy.